the tube. Ready, camera one. And this is the Techno Buffet podcast, episode number 618, recorded Thursday, February 9th, 2023, in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Techno Buffet podcast. Now with 50% more Jerry.
Did you turn up my volume?
No, there's just more of you.
Is there?
Well, I wanted to play you up, but you told me that your significant other has started listening. So I have to say nice things about you. Not that I did before.
Okay.
So it's been another week. No more groundhogs, though.
No more groundhogs.
No. Well, there were a lot of groundhogs. 60 of them reported in. But I don't think there'll be any more groundhog reports.
Yeah.
Because Groundhog Day is over. Although I did do my annual Groundhog Day movie watching.
And was it like every other Groundhog Day?
What was that?
Was it like every other Groundhog Day?
Well, I didn't get to the annual Groundhog Day movie watching until after Groundhog Day.
Oh, no.
Because I was otherwise occupied. And I decided to make myself scarce because the people working next door who agreed to do some work on my cabinetry did that. And I decided it was a good idea not to be trying to work every day in a demolition zone.
Yeah.
So I made myself scarce. And
okay.
Yeah, the guy who's working there sent me some pictures, and there were some oddities. For example, there are 3 times as many lights in my kitchen. The room that he's supposed to be fixing cabinets in.
So, not your place?
No, I don't remember discussing doing anything in the ceiling of my kitchen, but because he was doing lighting next door, he apparently gave me 2 extra lights.
Oh, well, that was nice of him.
I'll tell you when I see the bill. Probably he's not charging me for them, being as I didn't ask for them. But we'll see. So far, so good. He found some problems, though, but those I expected. The building was very weirdly constructed. So I decided to come and see my parents for a few days.
Did you now?
Yes. Well, they expect me in the office on a regular basis, so I just went into the office for 2 days, which they want, so they saw me, and then I figure that as long as they see me 2 days next week, it doesn't matter where I was in between. So.
Right.
So there we are.
Do they have that same theory?
Why? Is there some? They told me they wanted me to see me 2 days a week. Does it matter what I do on the interim days?
I don't know.
I don't know either, but if I asked them, I'm sure that they'd answer me. Anyway, I find that sometimes the one thing I can say that's nice about visiting Florida for a few days is it does help my sinuses.
I'm glad to hear it.
Well, cold weather always aggravates them. last weekend it did get down to 10 degrees, which is rare for New York City, but does happen. And this
It's not 10 degrees here.
I know that. I'm here. I know it isn't. It's not 10 degrees there either. It was 10 degrees for a day. It's back up in the 50s. But, which is fine with me. I like the 50s. But, this is the first time I have not brought a laptop here to work.
Really?
Well, I got myself that little mini PC as my desktop in Queens, and I decided all I needed was a little box as a carrying case to put it into. So I brought a mini PC and hooked it up to the monitor as I left here.
How's that working for you?
Well, better because now I don't have to switch all of the computer settings, and I get the more powerful computer. And I don't have to carry around a screen that I'm not going to be using because when I brought the laptop, I would just hook it into the dock here. I had a USB-C hub, just plug it in, so this is a little better. Shouldn't have done it earlier, I guess. And it's good that I came because apparently they succeeded in factory resetting the ESP home switches. Actually, no, it wasn't the ESP home when they reset. They reset the Tasmota switches. If you hit, well, I'm not sure if you know this, but if you have Tasmota, one of the things is if you hit one of the buttons that turns on the light in rapid succession 5 times, it resets the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Apparently they keep doing that, so I had to turn off that feature after reprogramming the thing, so that shouldn't happen again, but it happened multiple times over the last few months. So no more. If there's a problem, basically they're out of luck because I'm not taking the switch out of the wall to fix the Wi-Fi.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. Anyway, it has not been a really wild news week like it is some weeks. In order to allow people to work in my kitchen, I had to disable some of my alarm system and then quickly build a new one. So since they cut power to several parts of the kitchen area, which happens to have the door to my apartment, I had to use battery-operated sensors to keep an eye on the security of the place. So I can't see what they're doing because the cameras are not battery-operated. Also, these guys have learned from me because they unplugged every camera I put in.
That's not cool.
They don't want me watching them while they are working. Okay. As long as they put it back when they're done. But I don't think they noticed the battery stuff. It's fairly well camouflaged. So I know when they open doors, I have the cameras aimed at the thresholds, but I cannot get a camera inside the room they're actually working on. In their defense, generally speaking, if you are removing cabinetry from a room, you probably need to remove a plugged-in camera. Especially if you're unexpectedly putting in ceiling lights that... I'm excited though.
Okay.
It won't be dark in my kitchen anymore.
Yep, that's good.
Yeah, well, anyway, we'll see. So a few things happened over the course of the week that I found, and the first developer preview of Android 14.
Ooh.
And you know, it's sort
I would
of,
be so happy about this if I had an Android device.
why can't you be happy about it for other people who still have Android devices? Those of us that you left behind.
Yep,
When you
because
said-
I left you behind.
Yeah.
I don't know if I left you behind. Maybe I left me behind. I don't know.
Either way, the new version, like everything, there isn't as much excitement as there used to be because, as one Jerry Jones commented, the platform has become much more mature.
So what is new in Android 14?
So they're continuing to build on the work to support tablets and foldable form factors.
That's good.
So they're optimizing the way that apps work together in the background. So essentially, they're working on the long-standing problem of multiple applications using up resources on the phone. They've tried to simplify that and add updates to the job scheduler. They've optimized the internal broadcast system to improve battery life.
Ooh. Always love good, make what you got go further.
Yeah, they've added a new permission. So essentially, the permission is for exact alarms. So if you want to set an exact alarm, as into the second or minute, you need a new permission to do so.
Okay. I can understand that you may need special permissions for an alarm that will be within like the millisecond. But surely the machine wakes up once a minute.
Yeah, this appears to be that there's a different permission for scheduling something to run in the background versus scheduling something to happen at a specific time. So that's how I'm interpreting it, just having read the thing, that you have two different permissions that you're requesting. It's you want something to run in the background, which means you want it to run, let's say, once an hour. Which means you're accepting that maybe in order to save battery, it might not run exactly once an hour, it might run about once an hour.
Right.
Versus you want something to run exactly on the hour at a specific minute of the day. So that's the difference between the permissions.
Okay.
So well, again, I can understand that because I've dealt with that a lot, and you know that Techno Buffet is a WordPress site, and WordPress has this really weird cron substitute. For anybody who doesn't know what cron is, many of you probably do, it's the thing that does task scheduling on a Unix-based system. So WordPress uses what they call WP cron, which is designed similarly, except it triggers to decide whether or not it should run its background tasks only when somebody loads your site. So if, let's say, nobody visits Techno Buffet for a week, then none of the cron jobs will run. Because what triggers it is the load of a page.
Yep, PHP be fun like that.
It doesn't have to be. It's just, WP cron is one of those ways to make sure that WordPress is a package that isn't running anything in the background. So a lot of power WordPress users, including myself, have a system cron job running in the background which runs the WP cron job without being beholden to page loads. But if you are, WordPress is considered famous for its 5-minute install. If you're one of those people who did a 5-minute install, you're not necessarily going to set up a system cron job to trigger your WP cron job. So I appreciate the sort of, yeah, I appreciate, while I certainly spend a lot of time being annoyed about WordPress, I appreciate that, the classic design elements were, okay, you don't really need to know very much to get this thing working, but if you want to have more advanced functionality, you can do that with a plugin. So the plugin will take that traditional functionality and replace it with possibly more advanced functionality that, again, most people would not necessarily be able to set up. There's only one thing that I consistently complain about on WordPress. And it's not PHP, by the way. I'll give you one word. Gutenberg. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. Let's see what else we have here. Bigger fonts with nonlinear scaling. Gotta love a good font. Per app language preferences. Grammatical inflection API.
Ooh.
So this is adding support for users who speak languages that have grammatical gender.
Good, because that's a lot of them.
Yeah, and I think it's a good thing to support it. People should get language support that addresses how their language is actually spoke. Let's see, safer implicit intents. So that's again a security measure. Safer dynamic code loading. Blocking installation of apps that have a lower than target SDK version of 23. So 23 was chosen because that avoids malware apps targeting version 22, which is before they introduced the runtime permission model in 2015. So Android 6.0 is what API level 23 is.
Wow, that's old.
Well, that's the thing. If you cannot update your code to reflect a 2015 security feature,
Yep.
then I can understand why they would say, okay, we're not just not supporting that anymore. You could override it, but by default, we're just not letting it be installed. They're working on the release of a credential manager API. That whole passkey thing. Have you used passkeys?
I have not.
Neither have I. Eventually I'll get to it, but I hear they're, the new hotness.
Really?
Well, everything's the new hotness. I'm fine with other forms of identity. Give me a good OAuth 2 implementation.
Ugh.
Why not?
Because, ugh.
Well, that's, the whole single sign-on thing, where you have one credential and you use it to unlock the other credentials. Admittedly, I'm not a big fan of client secrets, and then you get into the extensions like dynamic client registration, but anyway. Also another conversation, but I like the idea of single sign-on in the sort of abstract, where you can delegate your authentication to a server so that you don't have to have a password in every application. You just have to have that application prove that its local account is connected to some sort of global account somewhere.
I mean, don't get me wrong, JWT is cool and all.
Who needs JWT? No, it doesn't. That's an implementation possibility.
Okay.
OAuth 2 does not require JSON Web Tokens. That is just one way you can implement tokens.
And by far the most common way?
I'm not a common kind of guy. But I'm just saying that if OAuth doesn't depend on something, even if there's a common way of doing it, then it's not a required feature of OAuth.
Okay.
Well, let's see, OpenJDK 17 support, easier testing and debugging of changes, and again, probably more, which means we're probably a little, at least a version away from starting to see more visible changes. Right now, the early developer stuff is focused on always what developers care about. But again, why it's a developer preview and not a user preview. But it's interesting to see what they're thinking about. So let's do something different. Google Maps has been rolling out their immersive view. So that's been a while. That's the one where you get immersive experiences in cities. So as you navigate using Google Maps, there's like an immersive view below your traditional map view.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Yep, pretty much. I mean, cool, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's good stuff.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Do you use Google Maps navigation anywhere?
Yes.
Okay. When you do you in the car or just while walking?
In the car.
Do you turn on the audible directions or do you just use the screen?
Just use the screen. No audio, please.
Me too, because I've gotten really tired of the in 1 mile, make a right. But I know some people like it. Android Auto now has a full weather app called Weather Radar. So So it is the first full weather app for Android Auto that supports live radar.
Wow, that's cool.
Oh, I think so. But it is nice to know, I think I'd rather have, since Google Maps start allowing me to overlay a weather, like a Doppler layer on top of the map as I'm navigating, to just tell me, is there rain ahead? But it's nice to see different types of apps come to Android Auto. If you are an Android TV user, which, as you remember, I currently have been sort of migrating in that direction.
Yep.
And I have a little story about that and CEC. Android 13 has come to TV. So they've actually launched it to an actual piece of hardware.
Wow.
So you can get an update to it for anybody who has the ADT3 developer dongle. Unfortunately, that was discontinued. So there's there's essentially a developer version available for you to test if you have a developer dongle that they discontinued some time ago. And
Details.
yeah, and the next developer dongle has still not been developed. So we'll see.
I'm sure that the people that actually do actual development have one of the dongles.
Quite possibly, but what if you want to get into it now and you can't get a dongle because the world is dongleless?
Well, people don't care about people like you.
That's hurtful. I hope somebody cares about someone like me.
Not you specifically, but
I'm not. I'm not the use case. Okay. But it reminded me of something I did try this week that I had to put down because I left town, but I have to pick up. Are you familiar with HDMI CEC?
Yeah.
So
it's command and control stuff. Turn the TV on or whatever.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out how I could, since I still have a Myth TV DVR.
Yep.
I was trying to figure out how I could have that change the channel between that and the Chromecast with Google TV, which can change the input to itself when it sees that something's playing back. And my playback device for Myth TV happens to be an Intel NUC, not the latest generation. I bought like an older one. And I was looking into it, and it said that it had CEC support, but it seemed to only have power on support. So I found that there's this little board you can buy that you can plug into the thing that should give it full CEC support, the ability to, play, pause, etc., and to detect those states. So I bought one of these boards and installed it.
Yeah.
It didn't work. Well, let me rephrase that. I think I may have done something wrong because the instructions weren't very clear. Because whenever it was plugged in and turned on, suddenly none of the devices in the chain detected any other devices, which means it essentially just blocked everything. So I decided, as soon as I unplugged the HDMI cable from the back of the NUC, everything else could be detected. So that means either I hooked it up incorrectly, which is possible because, as I said, considering the instructions were not helpful, yes.
But as a general rule, if tab A goes into slot B, then tab A should go into slot B.
There were two tabs, and they both went into two different slots, and they were both identical sizes. So I thought it was possible I might have, despite trying to figure out which one went to the right place, I might have put the wrong one in the wrong hole.
Interesting.
Which could explain it. Either way, I've set it aside for now. And if I check it both ways and it still doesn't work, I will likely, I have an AV receiver, I'll likely just plug the NUC directly into the TV and see if it detects it. And just see if it just doesn't like AV receivers. in which case I have other options. But I figured it was worth a shot. Because then in theory I could have the computer turn itself off or turn itself on based on a remote control command and do play pause, etc.
Good luck.
If it doesn't work, what did I lose? While I'm here visiting, all of my Myth TV watching is with the Myth TV Android app, which I have installed here, and then accessing the Myth TV DVR in New York over a WireGuard network. So it works. But if anybody has any experience with installing an HDMI CEC adapter in Intel NUC, please drop me a line because, again, the resources on the matter weren't helpful. But I could live with the possibility that I wasted the $20 on the little board. Anyway, maybe I should have gone for the external USB one instead of the internal board. Moving along, there was a release of Chrome 110. Even more Chromey.
Wow.
Well, I thought some of the passwords...
These numbers are just getting out of control.
Well, remember, they stopped having point releases, so every release is another number.
Yep.
So what versioning do you like? Do you like the versioning that Chrome and Firefox went to, where every version is just another incremental number? Do you like semantic versioning, where you have the ... so like 2.1.4, where each dot indicates major or minor version? Or do you
like something different?
Or do you like the Home Assistant one, where it's date-based versioning? So
I like date-based versioning.
Well, it's easy to figure out when it came from.
Yeah, it's easy to figure out how far back you are.
There are advantages to each one, and I know I use semantic versioning, but whether it's for me, and it's probably completely wrong, whether it's a major or minor version, I just seem to make it up. Probably a bad move. It's, oh, I did a lot of things. That's a major version. Oh, I didn't do that many things. That's a little version. Sometimes I feel like it's arbitrary for me. Anyway, moving along, this version of Chrome, which is where I mentioned, is the Google Password Manager. So they continue to enhance that. So if you're not interested in, let's say, LastPass or Bitwarden or one of those services, they added ways to change compromised passwords. So they're checking to see if they think your password might be compromised and make it easy to automatically change it for you by taking you to the password change page for that website. Biometric protection. So essentially, if you are a Chrome user, maybe you do not need a third-party password manager.
I think everybody should have a third party, just because...
I said maybe. I didn't say it.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying. I just think most people should.
Yeah, and I opted to, but because I want something that works everywhere. I don't want to have to necessarily be beholden to Chrome, especially since I'm a Firefox user.
Yes. 100% agree.
Yeah. Then, of course, this fun one, Chrome Headless Mode. So they've rebuilt a mode in Chrome that actually is used for people who do not want to run Chrome on a system that has a graphical interface.
Good.
Which I thought
is extraordinarily valuable because,
what do you use it for?
At least in the development world, it's extremely valuable.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying you use it for development. That's what I was guessing.
Yeah.
Okay. I have never needed to use it. I understand what it's for, but here's one. Android 14 may allow some phones to be used as webcams.
What?
So the idea is, you remember during the pandemic that webcams were suddenly an item that there was a shortage of, and you couldn't get them. Of course, that has now been reversed.
That's cool.
So during that period, people would use all sorts of other things, but and created apps for phones that allowed them to be used as webcams. But apparently, Google is working on their answer to that sort of idea of being able to. By the way, apparently Apple already has this with something called Continuity Camera, which allows you to use your iPhone as a webcam for a Mac. I'm guessing you have not used this feature?
I have not.
Okay, but it's a thing that you have right now, because I believe you also have a Mac.
I do.
Okay. So what they're doing is they're going for the UVC standard. So their idea is that it'll be standard compliant. So UVC is the standard for generic USB webcams. And the idea is you'd be able to plug your phone into your computer with a USB cable and essentially set it to appear as a webcam, as a service. Interesting idea, though.
Yep.
I like the idea, especially if I have an old phone, which I don't because I've been trading them in. But if I had an old phone that I was not trading in, it would be interesting to do this. I could also do the next thing, which is YouTube's new Go Live Together. So YouTube has the ability to invite a guest to your mobile live stream with Go Live Together. So you can, if you're on Android or iOS and going live on YouTube, you as the person who is in charge of the stream can send out a link to any guest.
That's a cool thought. That's cool.
Well, I was watching somebody I know who is a YouTube streamer.
Yeah.
Not doing this with YouTube, but doing this with like other tools like OBS and other things. OBS being the Open Broadcasting Studio.
Right.
And essentially, this was back on New Year's Eve, where they were doing like a New Year's Eve stream, and they just start randomly calling other YouTubers and having them join in and just chat. I thought it was interesting. But either way, it's interesting to be able to pull other people into a live stream. And
especially if it's as easy as sending them a link.
Yeah, and I thought I'd mention it because, remember, we currently have a live stream.
Ooh!
We are live streaming right now.
That's crazy.
Not that we haven't had any guests on the live stream recently. As in people who type in the chat that we can directly respond to. Just remember, lately we've been recording on Thursdays at 8 p.m.
Yes, we have.
Yep. So finally, if you are on Twitter, Twitter has once again annoyed its users. Yeah, so a week ago, the night that we recorded last, they announced in the middle of the night that they are going to no longer support free access to the Twitter API. So everybody will have to pay to access data or shut down their projects. Now, Twitter did sort of renege on this and say that they are going to have a very limited free tier for certain non-commercial use. I believe as of today or yesterday, they said that it was going to be limited to 1,500 queries per month.
That's pretty limited.
So essentially, once again, and this is what sort of annoys me, Elon Musk just threw out some sort of random idea. And when everybody told him how much they hated it, he backpedaled. I don't know if that's really a way to run a business.
Considering the fact that he successfully runs many multi-billion-dollar companies, and you and I are
not rich.
Not.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
We might say that we are unqualified to opine.
I'll agree with that point. That he seems to make money. It's just there are businesses that you like and businesses that you don't like. And I have to say, I don't like the way he does business.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't. I know it doesn't matter. Why does my opinion matter?
It matters for a business. It matters whether the business makes money or doesn't.
I don't think Twitter has made money.
Well, he's had it for all of, like, what, 3 months?
As I said, I just don't like organizations that do business in this way. Not that I was an active Twitter user, so I'm not really feeling disappointed, but alienating the people who gave value to your platform by suggesting that you're going to take away their livelihood, and then backpedaling, and then telling them retroactively. If you remember the last time we talked about Twitter's approach, telling them retroactively that they were violating a policy that didn't exist. He may end up making money, but he will not be making friends.
I don't think...
He's not in it for that.
I kind of think he's okay with that.
No, I don't want to be his friend anyway. He doesn't seem like somebody I'd like to hang out with. Would you like to spend the evening with Elon Musk?
God, yes.
Why?
Pick his brain, man. Talk to him about
Okay, if you...
That's like, I mean, would you not want to spend an afternoon talking to Marcus Aurelius, or Einstein, or Ruth Gator Ginsburg, or any of the other... I mean, pick your, genius of the moment, whatever, that has an incredible life experience that you and I have no concept of.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to sit down and have a conversation with the man.
Okay.
I don't have to agree with his political views, although I typically do.
Again, I'm not being annoyed with him political. I think he has a horrible personality. I don't think I'd enjoy the conversation because he'd probably be insulting me.
I think it would be, from my point of view, I think it would be worth it.
Okay. I'm willing to sacrifice the intellectual curiosity for the avoidance of verbal abuse.
I think that I'm tough enough to understand that any opinion that he has of me is either A, probably dead on, or due to a limited access to me.
Okay.
And I'm okay with that. My feelings are not...
So, Elon, if you're listening to this podcast, Cherry wants to have dinner with you?
Would love to. I'd pay for it.
Well, he needs the money. Is he on Cameo?
I'm sorry, this is people who criticize other people who are successful.
Yeah.
When the criticizers have never been successful at that in their life. There's a term for that, Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah. I'm not arguing that point. I'm allowed to not like somebody as a human being.
I'm not even specifically talking about you.
Okay.
It is, but all of the criticisms that I see of Elon Musk are from people who have never created anything, have never nurtured something into success, worked ungodly hours dedicated to anything. So, it is my personal opinion that they are unqualified to have an opinion.
That is an interesting thought. I suppose it depends on the person. Because I will agree with you, there are many people who will formulate opinions without necessarily having a background. And for me, that's why I'm always quantifying that the reason I dislike certain people happens to be about their behavior, not necessarily the success. But again, sometimes you have to do that sort of thing in order to be successful. Which is probably why I'm not successful.
There's a book out, How to Be a Billionaire, and the book starts out with a analysis of the character traits that it takes to be a billionaire, with the idea that, listen, you probably don't want to be a billionaire, and that's okay.
I'd settle for like a comfortable individual.
You are a comfortable individual.
You know what I mean, financially comfortable.
I think that if you look at your stature in life on a globally relative basis,
Then, yes, I know on that status. I'm saying I didn't say I couldn't put myself into that. I'd probably like to be a little more comfortable, but I'm saying I don't feel like I need to be a millionaire or a billionaire.
according to Jordan Peterson, and I say according to Jordan Peterson because he's the last person that I heard say it, and he's quoting some study that I remember a different number, but according to Jordan Peterson saying this, once you earn over a certain amount of money, every extra dollar you earn contributes exactly zero to your happiness.
Okay, you don't usually hear me agreeing with Jordan Peterson, but I'll agree with that statement.
You should. Especially you. You know, that's,
I'll never, you can't say that I would agree with anybody 100% of the time. I don't fit neatly into any particular box. On some issues,
I don't think Jordan Peterson does either.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's sort
a
of,
lot of people call him right-wing, and he's not. What he is he's anti-extreme left-wing. And there's a difference. But neither here nor there.
I agree with I agree with the statement that you attributed to him. We'll go there. That there is a point at which more money does not mean more happiness.
And that number's a lot lower than most people realize.
I realize it. I've never had a desire to be rich. It might be fun for a little while, but what you have to do in order to get that amount of money is not something I'm prepared to do. And it has nothing to do with hard work. I think I work hard. Admittedly, I know somebody who worked a lot harder than I did and burnt himself out and went to a less demanding job.
One of the characteristics that I remember from that book on how to be a billionaire, it explicitly said it doesn't take hard work. It takes ruthlessness and the ability to not care how your actions affect others.
And does that sound like me? You've known me well now. I'm saying I tend to care about how my actions affect others. And I'm not a ruthless person.
Yeah, so
every so often I think about being ruthless. Yeah, every so often I think about being ruthless. It just never takes. But anyway, I am perfectly happy not being ruthless. Wouldn't mind a raise, but perfectly happy not being ruthless. Anyway, so hopefully next week there's more to talk about, because last week we had a lot to talk about. This week not quite so much. And hopefully next week even more.
Yay!
There is a possibility next week I might be detained. So my suggestion is that I would not schedule a live stream of next week's episode just in case.
Are you planning on breaking the law and getting arrested?
No. My nieces and nephews are going to be around, and there's a possibility they might want to eat food. And what if they want to eat food later, and that means that I wouldn't be here by an 8 o'clock recording time? And I'd have to send you one of those messages that I was delayed. I don't want anybody listening to the live stream to be disappointed. I think there's a nearly nil possibility that I won't be able to make a recording that evening, but I might have to ask you to postpone it. So I don't think a live stream would be warranted. So next week, no live stream, but I think we will put out a pre-recorded episode.
Cool.
And we'll see what comes next in my never-ending thirst for new technology. The really nice thing about being away from my apartment is I don't have to worry about why I'm not cleaning it. Because that's what I was doing for the last 2 weeks. Trying to get things moved so that when somebody came in and made unexpected holes in my ceiling, that it wouldn't get over everything. So I really want to know why there are holes in my ceiling. The suspense is killing me. I'll probably like it, but still, suspense is killing me. Anyway, until next week.
Until next week. Bye, folks.
Goodbye.
The recording has stopped.
I enjoyed the Elon Musk conversation.
I always
And
enjoy
for what
this
it's worth, I was not talking about you